So people are still talking about DMC, and honestly, I've said my piece about it, and now I just want to see what other people have to say. And I saw this guy, Technomunda, 200 subscribers. He made a video. He got 2,000 views on it in the first day because he said some stuff that is, it's right. And so I want to go over it. I want to see what I agree with. I want to see what I disagree with. And then you can check out his channel in the description below. But before you do that, make sure to like, subscribe, and let's get into it.
As you may know, a Devil May Cry series recently came out on Netflix.
No, I hadn't heard about that.
I considered watching it. I liked the vibe of the trailer, and I'm a sucker for 2000 music. But after seeing that clip of White Rabbit complaining about how humans hate demons and hell,
You can
It's especially funny because he then proceeds to murder a bunch of humans,
curb the worst
thereby justifying everything that the humans think about demons.
of your savageries only through collective fear and hatred of another world.
Also, at this point, humans in general don't know about hell.
My world.
I lost interest. And based on the clips I've been seeing on Twitter,
Please,
Your friend slaughtered my team.
you think we're with them?
Yes,
She's a sapien. Of course she thinks all demons are the same.
I feel doubly sure of that choice. But this isn't the first time that a modern adaptation has done this, has taken something like orcs or demons or bugs and tried to cast them in an empathetic light, and I think it's something worth talking about. And if you like the video, you know what buttons to push.
yeah, it's very common. It happens more and more, and it's kind of why so many people are very unappreciative of Netflix adaptations because they usually take whatever the original work was and then they twist it to fit a completely new message that has nothing to do with what people actually want to see in in this case, Devil May Cry, but before that, it was Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, and any other Halo. Actually, wait, wasn't Halo Amazon? Doesn't matter. It fits into the same genre of a really cool work that was twisted and turned into something else.
I think the best place to start is with Tolkien's orcs, servants of Sauron who delight in bloodshed and will cannibalize each other without a second thought. Tolkien went back and forth on how they worked. They were tortured elves, they reproduced sexually. No, they came from the muck. Ultimately, though, I don't think the mechanics of their nature are that important. In-world, elves and orcs are races, but in the narrative, they are ideas,
Yes.
representations of nobility and purity and war and death, respectively. And then the Rings of Power threw that out the window by portraying them as just wanting a home they could call their own so that
Of
they
course.
could raise their kids in peace.
Exactly. It's the necessity that a lot of people of the political ideology that a lot of Netflix directors and showrunners tend to have, which is the idea that they're all like us. But then this only applies to monsters in shows. It doesn't apply to people in real life. And it shows a level of hypocrisy as well as a lack of media literacy that really should raise some questions.
Devil May Cry applies the same idea but to demons from hell. In its lore, a place of evil spawned from the darkness before the beginning of the world. I think the reason we see things like this is because there are people who can't differentiate between fantasy and reality. The same kind of people who thought that rock music and Dungeons and Dragons would turn your kid into a Satanist in the
He's not fucking wrong.
80s.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's the exact same type of people. Like, yeah, they're different groups, but it's the exact same type of people. One thing that I did like about the show was them trying to like scientify things, but I think that they went a little too far, right? I think that the idea that demons and humans are actually, from the same like primordial beginning, but while humans stayed on our world, the demons were in hell, and so they evolved differently, and so that's why they're different. But once you take a step beyond that, you have to understand that if you live in a world where everything is toxic, everything is bad, you only survive by preying on others, then you cannot have a large amount of people in that world that are basically victims, right? Because for them to be victims, well, just look at our world, right? Like, humans are weaker than pretty much every other predator and large animal, and yet we conquered them with the use of tools because we were smarter. So now the question remains: if we have a faction of demons that are smart but weak, and then we have the much less common big, strong demons that are less intelligent, that it doesn't make sense, right? The way that the original game did it, where the vast majority of demons are not that strong, but they're dumb. Like, they're basically just these bloodthirsty monsters that go around fucking and attack people. Yeah, that makes sense, right? They're demons from hell. And then the stronger ones are really strong, but they're also smart, and they can use their powers and the powers of others to greater effect. And that way you create a much more interesting dynamic, because then that allows you to go, okay, this specific demon is rising above its nature. But by doing what they did, Netflix basically killed all potential for that. Because now, when a demon rises above his nature and decides to be good and decides to help others, it no longer is narratively relevant. It's like I said, it's bad writing and it's bad media literacy.
Media can't be self-contained, it must be reflective of some aspect of the real world. And in the real world, there are very few, if any, completely evil groups of people. The bugs are just retaliating, just defending themselves. The orcs have been manipulated, so it's not really their fault. The demons are just refugees looking for a better home.
Because they're refugees, sir.
And the idea of refugees from hell did not immediately strike you.
This guy was the most based motherfucker in the entire show. Straight up. He was straight up just fucking based. And the only reason he was a bad guy was because Adi Shankar cheated, for all intents and purposes. He cheated. He cheated the story and he cheated the viewer, and it was insulting. Because if Adi Shankar, the showrunner, had not cheated, this guy would be right, 100%. And when I say he cheated, I mean, like, he went in and he changed the fucking rules of the game. You cannot do that. If you change the rules, you're cheating. And Adi Shankar cheated. He cheated in order to create a different narrative message than what was supposed to be present. And therefore, any narrative message that he tries to put forward with that is automatically irrelevant.
It was contradictory.
There is simply some aspect of their nature that is misunderstood. The orcs are not a representation of anything. They are a race, and to say all orcs are evil is racist. The monstrous other becomes a stand-in for a group that has been otherized in the past.
It's especially funny that that leftist fucking weirdos that know nothing about these franchises try to portray orcs as representatives of African Americans because they're violent, even though if you actually look at the culture and the dress of orcs in Tolkien, you find that they bear a much larger resemblance with either like almost a I'm trying to think about, like, yes, Germany at the time of the book's writing. Heavily industrialized, heavily militarized, not really caring about the environment, just like fully focused on warfare. Yeah, so maybe that's what they're about, right? Like, they're not black people. And if you look at Forgotten Realms lore, D&D, orcs, you look at their story, so their main god is an uncaring, one-eyed war god with a spear and a bird. Who could that be?
They take on a human nature they lack. A racial slant to these sort of things often fails, in my opinion.
Of course it does.
Zootopia is a very good movie, but as an allegory for racism, it completely falls flat.
Yes, because there are well, first of all, predators are much more intelligent than prey animals in general. Again, goes back to that thing I said about how it's stupid that there's a category of prey demons, basically, because that's what the refugees are for all intents and purposes. They're prey demons, except they're as intelligent as everybody else. That doesn't make sense. Prey animals are dumb. You look at a rabbit compared to a fox, and their brains are completely different. The fox is much more intelligent than the rabbit. And once you realize that, that's when a setting like Zootopia falls flat when it comes to the creation of racial commentary. It's good when you're just taking it at face value. As soon as you analyze it beyond that, you failed. Because you can't. Because as soon as you analyze it beyond that, it stops making sense. Because it's not meant to, right? It's a kid's show. It's a kid's show to show that, hey, just because this other person is bigger and stronger and apparently more dangerous than you, maybe you shouldn't hate them for it. Literally, the only commentary that Zootopia could ever be used for is, hey, just because guys are bigger and stronger than girls doesn't mean you need to be afraid of them. That's it. That's the commentary. That's the most you can get to.
It is.
Because racial commentary doesn't work with the setting of Zootopia. With predators and prey, it doesn't work.
And a predator's nature to kill and eat other animals. And that's an uncomfortable truth I think Disney wanted to avoid, because I don't think they're ever shown eating any real food. There's ice cream and popsicles or
That's true.
Something. Pie. Wait, where does the ice cream come from?
Don't question it.
Are there cows being milked in Zootopia?
Don't. I mean, maybe, you know, you never know, right? Like, in an animal society, that would not necessarily be weird, right? It just comes down to, it's a job.
The point is, if they actually showed that, the suspension of disbelief falls apart. You're forced to confront the fact that they are fundamentally different. And that's terrible for a racial stand-in. In the real world, we're all human, and it's simply a difference in skin tone or culture, but how many species are there in Zootopia? And the more important reason representations like these don't work is because they're way more racist than they believe the original depiction to be. Imagine looking at a minority and saying you're a predator, an orc, a demon, and thinking you've done a good job at representing the racial struggle. I think the best way to illustrate my point is with Frierin's Demons, which I feel I've been seeing discussions of ever since the show came out.
Yes, because there's a lot of people who will see a show, look them dead in the eye and say, this is a magical creature, it is not a human, it mimics human speech with the intention of tricking humans so that it can prey on them, and then they'll go, actually no, look at me, I'm smart, I passed the media literacy check, and in fact they failed, hard.
They've been criticized for being racist or one-dimensional, but that isn't true because that is a projection of a human nature that isn't there.
Yep.
Which is their entire ploy. Demons and Frieren simply look human. In reality, they're like machines, like a Chinese room.
What? In the thought experiment, Searle imagines a person who does not understand Chinese isolated in a room with a book containing detailed instructions for manipulating Chinese symbols. When Chinese text is passed into the room, the person follows the book's instructions to produce Chinese symbols that, to fluent Chinese speakers outside the room, appear to be appropriate responses. According to Searle, the person is just following syntactic rules without semantic comprehension, and neither the human nor the room as a whole understands Chinese. He contends that when computers execute programs, they are similarly just applying syntactic rules without any real understanding or thinking. That's actually a really good way to explain why AI art sucks. Because the AI art is just reapplying syntactic rules without semantic comprehension. It's why it can't draw hands. It's why it can't draw, like, complex symbols or details without it turning into garbled nonsense, because the AI doesn't actually know what the hell it's doing. It's just throwing up the colors in the sequence that looks roughly like that.
They don't understand emotions.
It's why it's not real art, right? It's just a painting. It's a picture. It's colors, and it's basically keys jingling.
But they understand how humans respond to those emotions and use that to manipulate them. In one episode, Lugnar and the other demons are almost killed by the leader of the area. He prevents the conflict by saying that he mourns the loss of his father in the conflict between their kind and humans.
I've kept my father's room the same since he was lost to us too, from when you struck him down. We can speak to one another, can we not? So please, let's find another way.
The leader is mourning the loss of his son to the demons, so he sees a bit of his own story in Lugnar's and lets them go. But after they leave...
Lord Lugnia, what is a father?
Who can say?
Or in one of Friren's flashbacks, where she encounters a demon child crying for her mother, and then when she's taken in by a family, burns their house down.
It's simple. That word stops humans. It keeps them from murdering us. Isn't that magical?
Also, the use of the word murder there is manipulation as well, because there was no murder in the killing of this demon. This was a righteous killing. Murder implies that the person being killed was not meant to be killed. They were innocent. That's what that word implies. Just, little language tricks that demons like using.
In some ways, it's such an effective ploy that it reaches beyond the fourth wall.
Yes.
And it's irritating to see people...
That's the point of it. Like, literally, every single person who believes that, the demons are actually, not all evil in Frieren, they're just trying to survive. Like, every single one of those people, victims. All of them.
Complaining about this portrayal because I think it's an incredibly interesting way to portray an evil race. But I think that's only one half of the spectrum, and I think the other half is more based on rejection of the alternative. They don't ideologically agree with the bugs or the automatons or the Tau, but their alternatives are hyper-fascistic and hyper-xenophobic.
The Federation isn't fascistic at all. Like, not even a little bit. Like, putting anybody who puts the Federation in the same room as Super Earth and the Imperium of Man doesn't know what they're talking about.
So
Also, even the Imperium of Man isn't that fascistic. It's authoritarian, yes, but a lot of the measures taken in the Imperium of Man are taken out of outright necessity. They need to have those planets dedicated entirely to fighting this war effort, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have the resources they need. They need to have complete control over information, because if they didn't, people would be falling to chaos left and right. If they didn't do the things that they do, their entire society would fall apart. So once you get to that point, it's like, okay, are you actually a fascist, or are you just doing what you absolutely need to do? Okay, so you're just doing what you absolutely need to do. So why are we getting mad at you for doing that, but we're not getting mad at the evil space monsters that could literally just go home and leave us the fuck alone? Right?
Even though those empires contain all of humanity.
And Super Earth is just right all around. Like, the bugs are fuel, the automatons are just holding on to our CPUs for us, and the Illuminati are attacking us unprovoked.
Humanity, they side with the other because they'd rather do that than support the...
I am kidding, by the way. Like, I'm not sure if that was obvious, but I am joking.
Alternative. A lot of the people writing
about the last
these
one
things are progressives, which is shocking information to learn, I know. And progressive beliefs often naturally...
Most religious nuns align with Democrats. Atheists, okay. That's what that means. Democrats. Protestants, Catholics tend toward the Republicans. Yes, this makes sense. Especially because in American politics, Democrats have kind of become like the party of believe nothing except what is directly in front of you, or worse yet, nothing except for your immediate feelings.
Actually stand against something like Christianity, which holds a far more repressed view of sexuality. Some of them view Christianity as a part of the past, the violent, barbaric past that we've moved on from in the post-World War II era. I think they see medieval Europe as the height of Christendom on Earth, but they don't see the struggle to rebuild and hold civilization together after the fall of the Roman Empire. They don't see the struggle against invading pagan hordes or the advancements in science and technology. They only see bishops burning witches and crusaders watering the Levant with blood. So is it any surprise that in settings overwhelmingly based on Christian Europe, settings based on Christian beliefs of heaven and hell, they put themselves on the opposing side? The creators of the grimdark tabletop game Trench Crusade have stated that there is no objective good or bad side in their game. That's not surprising, it's meant to be grimdark after all. The Muslims play God and pervert the cycle of life and death, while the Christians create super soldiers by consuming the flesh of a clone of Jesus Christ. But on the other side, we have a race of monsters whose entire being is dedicated to infecting, raping, and murdering every living thing on God's green earth.
So on one side you have objectively evil, and on the other side you have people just trying to survive and doing whatever they can to survive. At that point, yes, that is the good side. That is the because here's the thing. The moment that the actual evil side is dealt with, you no longer have to do the bad things, and at that point you stop. That's the difference between the good and the bad.
Look at this guy. This is the weakest guy hell has, and he has a baby's corpse on his belt. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that they are objectively the bad guys, and whoever's fighting that is good. I don't excuse the bad guys.
Tony Mag is punk and queer and always will be. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Go read any of their magazine editions, especially the recent women's edition, which includes incredible trans artists. It has nothing to do with that. Looks of who think it's anti-woke and promotes trad-cath values. It does. You just are too stupid to understand that. Writers and artists are outwardly not right-wing. They range from pretty moderate to progressive. Okay. So that there's moderate right-wingers, but I'm guessing this person doesn't believe in that. The Lord does not pitch the forces of God as outwardly doing the right thing. No, but the forces of God are the good guys by sheer virtue of not being fucking demons. Look at Metachrist. The Lord screams as a critique. It's grimdark. Look, here's the thing. When you're critiquing something, you have to, at least to some extent, be matching it. The moment that you're going 10 steps further than the thing you're critiquing has ever gone, you are no longer critiquing anything. Because you can no longer critique them because, hey, that shit has never happened.
And whoever's fighting that is good. I don't excuse the things that humans are doing, but the genocidal monsters are still objectively the bad guys. Anyway, none of this is to say that I think sympathy for the monster is an inherently bad narrative direction.
Of course not. And there's an entire episode in the 2007 DMC anime that is dedicated to a demon learning to love and wanting to be human and wanting to live amongst humans. And at the end of it, Dante lets him go. Because, yeah, that guy just wants to be a human, just wants to live amongst us, live a good life, fall in love, have kids, the same thing that Sparta did. It's not a bad thing to have pity for a creature that is born evil. But it's like Parthenax said, is it better to be born good or to overcome an evil nature through great effort? Right? It's a question that can never be answered. Because it doesn't have a real answer. Because the effort itself is not necessarily virtuous, but the end result is. Or is the effort virtuous? Right? Christianity would state that the effort itself is virtuous. Because you are striving against your nature. That's like a very big part of Christian faith, that we strive against our nature to be better. And the same thing can be applied to demons. Because while humans have a flawed nature, demons have an evil nature. Demons are evil. And so while they can struggle against that, and while there can be a few amongst them who are going to want to rise above that and be good, their effort is made meaningless if you make all demons capable of being good. If you make demons neutral, first of all, you shouldn't be using the word demons. you shouldn't be using demons if you're going to make them neutral, because a demon is an evil creature by default. That's what that word means. But as soon as you undercut that, all the efforts, all the sacrifices made by the characters who do rise above their nature mean nothing.
In Devil May Cry, Sparta fights against Mundus and the legions of hell. The idea of something like a demon
Still need to read the comic books of DMC.
or a vampire deciding to protect mankind instead of hunting it, of abandoning their lesser nature,
For the people who don't understand why this is a big deal, the major cornerstone which DMC lore is built on is that Sparta overcame his nature to protect the human world. If demons can just spontaneously be good, there's nothing special about Sparta's rebellion. That thing that I just said, you know.
to pursue a higher calling, is an incredibly interesting idea and can make for an incredibly powerful narrative.
Imagine if they made a Doom show where the demons are portrayed as innocent victims. Doomslayer is a genocidal maniac that just wants to kill demons out of pure enjoyment.
And ironically, I think that idea makes them more nuanced, more human than anything I've talked about.
Yep.
It shows that they are capable of change, of being better, and simply choose not to, which ironically makes them seem more evil. But that isn't what we're seeing. We're seeing, oh, they're just like us, but with horns. We're seeing lazy writing. And I'm obviously not saying that I can't see these kinds of allegories where others do. Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy is a religious extremist who hates Xandar, your stereotypical what if the West made it to space sort of civilization, and intends to commit mass murder-suicide. I can obviously see why someone would call that Islamophobic, but there's obviously a difference in intention between unfortunate coincidences like that and playing American Idiot, a direct response to the Iraq War, while showing Americans invading hell. As I've said, I think it often does more harm than good, and I think if the creators of our media insist on continuing with this direction, they need to get better writers.
Yes, Adi Shankar was a terrible fucking writer. He fucked up every single major plot point that he tried to put into the show. Every single one.
Well, they need better writers either way. Anyway, thank you all for sticking around until the end. I really appreciate it. I don't really know what I'm doing with this channel yet. I'm just kind of taking the shotgun approach and doing whatever. If you liked the video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Again, thank you, and I hope I'll see you all again next time.
Sorry, this video.
That was a good video. I don't know why Badger immediately started playing afterwards, but I didn't even know I had a Badger video open. Regardless, that was a good video. He made good points. He brought up good points. Yeah, there's really nothing else left to say, is there? So long as Netflix continues to be irreverent of the media that they want to adapt, and irreverent of the culture that they leech off of, and irreverent of the audience that they are supposed to be trying to appeal to, they're never going to make good shows. And that's just it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I did. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Cheers.